Hari Ram, Hari Ram, Ram Ram, Hari Hari. Hari. Haribol. Jai Srila Gaur Haridas. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jesus. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You know, so I'm reading the Old Testament, and I just finished Deuteronomy. Now I'm into the book of Joshua. And Moses just passed away. Toward the end of Deuteronomy, Moses dies. Moses, he was everything. To the Israelites, it's like you're looking at over 500,000 people. And Moses was everything. He was a general. He was the intermediary to God. He was so like the head priest, the guru, the spiritual master. He was the judge. He gave the laws. I mean, he was everything. He was just a super powerful leader for this over 500,000 people who were wandering. And I mean, their wanderings were extensive. I mean, they were without a home for 40,000 years. I mean, you can talk about 500,000 people wandering here and wandering there for 40 years. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They would pick up camp and they would move on after a few days or a week or whatever, along with all their animals and their household goods. And I mean, it's just incredible saga. And he was the leader. And he passed away just when they were reaching the promised land, Canaan, the land of milk and honey, with pomegranate trees and olive trees and flowing streams and hills and rivers and pasture land. Just this wonderful, wonderful place. And just before they crossed the river Jordan, and another miracle took place there because the river was flooding. It was the rainy season and they couldn't get across. So another miracle happened, like with the Red Sea. The Lord stopped the water above where they were, and the rest of it flowed away, and it left dry land. So they all crossed on the dry land into Canaan. But Moses couldn't go. Moses and Aaron, they did incredible service. Aaron was the chief priest. He did all the sacrifices. He cut the heads off of everything and drained the blood out of everything. And he did the most incredible sacrifices, Aaron, for sin, for fellowship offering, I mean, whatever they wanted, they killed an animal, drained the blood out. This was as a pleasing aroma to the Lord, right? Well, anyway, that's what was going on then. Hare Krishna. And then Moses gave all these laws, they're very extensive, If somebody steals something, what happens to them? If somebody kills someone accidentally, what happens to them? If somebody kills someone on purpose, what happens to them? And they were always going around stoning people to death for different things. If a woman committed adultery, then she got stoned to death, Hare Krishna. Pretty strict stuff. I mean, Hare Krishna, we look at it by today's standards and we go, oh my God, wow. Because it's the old world. You're looking at 5,000 years ago, before the appearance of Jesus. And Jesus, he stopped all the bloodletting. He stopped it all. And the stoning and he stopped it all. Because I can hardly wait for his appearance. I'm only into the book of Joshua and I'm like, oh my God, where's Jesus? We got to put us... and they keep repeating everything. I guess it's mantras or songs. And they keep repeating, remember, I'm the Lord your God that brought you out of Egypt. I mean, if you hear that once, you hear it like 12 million times in the Old Testament. and I'm bringing you into the promised land. And, you know, this goes on for like 40 years of wandering, and you just keep hearing this mantra over and over again. I'm bringing you into the promised land. I'm bringing you into the promised land. Follow my laws. If you follow my laws, you'll be blessed. If you don't, I'll kill you. That's what he says. So Moses couldn't go into the promised land. He died on the other side of the Jordan, and so did Aaron. Even though they did so much service, they both of them, Aaron and Moses, did one little tiny thing that you can hardly even, I can't even remember what it was. Some little moment of doubt or something. It was momentary. Amidst volumes of service and austerities, uncountable. It kind of reminds me of like King Riga, when he did so much pious activity for the people that he was ruling over. Wells and judgments, and he was charity. He was one of the most pious kings ever, King Riga. But there was some little thing that happened. He gave some cows in charity to a Brahmin, and one of the cows that he gave to one Brahmin wandered out of the herd into the other Brahmin's herd. And both the Brahmins considered that he had given something and taken it back. Now, how ridiculous is that? I mean, that's absurd. He gave the cow has a mind of its own and wandered back into somebody else's herd, but the king was held responsible. And so he was cursed for that by those Brahmins. They would not accept 100,000 cows in exchange for that one cow, and the Brahmins fought over. Evidently, what it was the Brahmins felt that their power was being compromised if they accepted 100,000 cows in exchange for the one cow, because Brahmins have certain powers, and their power would have been compromised. They couldn't accept anything. They had to keep their power, their Brahminical power, for mantra chanting and all the things that they do, by pushing the king down. Even though it was a totally, like, I mean, you really look at it, it's like, come on, you know, the cow wandered back. Well, how can you hold the king responsible? But they did, because of they wanted to keep their Brahminical power. So Moses, and Aaron, it was a similar thing. It was some little tiny, insignificant, I can't even remember what it was, and I don't even know if I can find it if I try to, you know, dig through the Old Testament and what happened. And it wasn't one of those things that was repeated a lot. Like everything else is repeated a million times. And this, I think, was only repeated once or twice. Why Moses couldn't go. He died on the other side of the Jordan. He didn't go to Canaan, the promised land. He died in the land of Moab or something. And so there's your strictness, you know, these rules, man. I mean, we see it in this Old Testament, you know, if somebody deviates even a little bit, there's such harsh consequences under that system. Such harsh consequences. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And some of the laws that Moses gave, like to be truthful, if you bear false witness, there's a terrible punishment for that. And you know, there's all these punishments for these things. And I was thinking that was to strengthen those people in righteousness and piety, so they would be blessed in a certain way by God. They would have, because they were going to have to fight and go and kill everybody else. It was basically why they had those austerities for 40 years in the desert, and all they could eat was this funny stuff that grew at night, this manna. It's kind of like strange stuff that the Lord supplied. It was all they could eat. They were in the desert. That's all there was this. At night, when there was a little bit of moisture in the air, this grainy type stuff would grow, and they would gather it in the morning and make it into bread and stuff. That's all they had for 40 years. I mean, that's pretty austere. Krishna. But they were going to go and kill everybody else. So these are these old scriptures, you know. Everybody was always killing everybody else to establish themselves. And one of the things they would go in was they would destroy everybody else's gods and idols. That was what this message they were getting from God was to go in and destroy whatever type of worship the other people were doing. That had to be destroyed. Their idols and their false gods and things. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. But it meant kill. It was all this killing going on. Everyone was always killing everybody. It was no wonder I couldn't relate to this scripture. You know, just listening to it is so painful. But I'm listening to it because it's an important scripture for our world right now. There's millions and millions and millions of people who worship these scriptures. And we can see there's all this religious fighting going on. You've got the Muslims wanting to kill the Jews, and the Jews fighting back and killing the Muslims. And it's all because of God, right? Hare Krishna. Because in the different scriptures it says the infidels should be killed. That's what's going on. And, you know, I was thinking, well, we haven't had a really big world war in a while. And the last few huge world wars didn't touch the United States because they're separated by the ocean waters. And the technology and the airplanes and the boats and stuff, they weren't sophisticated enough to travel those large spans. But they are now. And it's part of this world, you know, and war is such a horrible thing. I'm reading in this old scripture here that, you know, when they went in somewhere, they would kill everyone. Even the animals, they would kill. They would just completely purge the place, consider everything contaminated. And that was, of course, they dealt differently with different peoples, but for the most part, that's what they did. Sometimes they would just kill the men and take the women and children and stuff. But all this killing. So don't think it can't come again, and that it won't come again. It will come again. It's the material world. And right now we're sitting in the comfort of our homes, wherever we are, with these little gadgets, and we're singing and we're dancing and we're looking at funny pictures of cats jumping through hula hoops and Hare Krishna. Govinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Don't think it couldn't just be right around the corner. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Of course, there's a new message now. Those were the old messages. But there's a new message. And it came in with Jesus, that the goal of it all, folks, is love of God. It's not to fight over land and property and material assets. That's not actually the promised land. The promised land is it's not even in this universe. So you don't hear that message very much in the old scripture, at least not up to Deuteronomy or Joshua. The promised land is over there, and those people are living on it. We have to kill them to get it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh God, how do we wait for Jesus to appear? Oh, but I'll keep reading this heavy-duty stuff here. I want to read it all the way through, because it's an important scripture for our present world. I'm not actually reading it. I'm hearing it. There's a nice audio. It's easy to hear, except that the narrator's voice is so... He's like... I'm like, just hearing his vibration, I'm like... he's like... Hare Krishna, he's... Hare Krishna. If you don't do what I say, then I'll... Because that's what he hears when he's reading this one. The voice of God is, speaking. He's rah, rah, rah. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So I was thinking, it's understandable in a sort of a way how to shape those people and make them a pious people. No stealing. You can't sleep with your mother. You can't sleep with your sister. You can't sleep with, like that. You can't kill people and take their property. You can't just take their property. You have to be honest. You can't lie, no lying. And so, it's make, kind of a civilized people. And I was thinking, well, if I look around me, I want to be part of people too. I remain pretty much solitary for different reasons. Mostly as I have a little bit of difficulty with love and trust other people. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. And so I look around and I say, well, that's why I got all excited about the Krishna consciousness movement in the 70s, and I thought, here's my people. These are my people. I see honesty, I see cleanliness, I see, striving for self-control, I see, love of God as the goal. Wow, I found my people. I found it. I'm not alone anymore. I found my people. And then Srila Prabhupada disappeared, and I'm like, where'd those people go? Where'd those people go that I could love and trust wholeheartedly? I'm seeing deception. I'm seeing lying. I'm seeing cheating. I'm seeing personal ambition and motivation. I'm seeing exploitation. I'm seeing harshness. Where did those people go that where are they? So, I just kept aloof for a while, I found them once, I guess, I'll just wait, And now, when I look at what's going on with Srila Gaurhari's preaching, there's honesty. Okay, very, very honest. There's no lying, there's no stealing, there's no cheating. There's no abuse. Nobody's beating anybody, or there's no abuse. And people are, trying to, deal with their own conditionings. But it's an atmosphere of love and trust. So again, I feel like I found my people. Yeah. You see, love and trust. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. There's no lying. There's no stealing. There's no cheating. It's love. It's an atmosphere of love and trust. Yeah, it gets a little kooky sometimes. Emotions and energies, they run pretty high. But if you look at that and you see what are the qualities of these people, are they exploiting anyone? Is Srila Gaurharidas exploiting anyone? Do they have hidden agendas? No, they don't. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They're wonderful. Wonderful people. Hare Krishna, wonderful devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Let me read a little something, Chaitanya Charitamrita. while we're waiting for the appearance of Jesus. Oh, God. You know, Moses and Aaron, they did so much service. I mean, Moses was 123 when he died. And Aaron was also up there, 100 and something. And they couldn't go to Canaan, the promised land, because there was one little thing out of volumes of total surrender. And they couldn't go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And that is, wow, you know. Krishna. Come on, Jesus, where are you? Get us out of this heavy, heavy environment. And actually bring people to the promised land. Yeah, and you know, I see within the ISKCON society, all this fighting going on and all this over property and assets and rights. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And many of the devotees are walking around, you can see it in them, they have these heavy weights because they feel like they have to fight and take the property. So take this, they have to be in control of ISKCON. They have to be, for Prabhupada, of course. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's just, that's there. You know, people have that tendency. I mean, evidently the reason God dealt with the Israelites like he did in the old days was because that's how they needed to be dealt with. But there's something else. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What did Jesus say? Let those with ears hear and with eyes see. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I got a little bit of a glimpse of that. What he meant was spiritual senses, spiritual ears, and spiritual eyes. See, we have eyes, but they're material. We have ears, but they're material. So, to be able to see and hear the messages of Godhead, you need spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. The spiritual senses have to be awake. They have to be awakened. And that's actually what the spiritual master does, is he awakens the spiritual senses of the soul. Spiritual senses. Those with spiritual eyes, let them see. Those with spiritual ears, let them hear. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I mean, it's so perfect, you know, and it just makes so much sense, you know, to purify. That's what all these offerings of prasadam is, to spiritualize the tongue. So let those with a spiritual tongue taste the messages of Godhead, taste the presence of the Lord in His holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. It's the association of those whose spiritual senses are awakened. By their association, others' spiritual senses can also be awakened. By their association, by hearing from them, seeing them, then their spiritual senses can be awakened. Because everyone has spiritual senses. We are spiritual beings. It's just we're all covered over. And if all we ever see is just material stuff, even in the name of religion, or even in the name of Krishna consciousness. It's still more or less just for dealing with making the material world a better place, or getting to the land of Canaan, Varnashram Dharma. If all we ever just see is this kind of material covering, even in the name of Krishna, just a material covering, then how can the spiritual senses be awakened? But if we see and hear from those whose spiritual senses are awakened, because of their connection with the Lord through the Lord's mercy coming through parampara, disciplic succession, Krishna, then they can get awakened because we can see it, we can hear it, we can taste it, and then we start to remember, and our senses, they start to revive. Because we're not just looking at material stuff anymore. We're seeing something, we're seeing actually someone alive spiritually. Their senses are alive and awake. They're tasting, they're hearing, they're seeing, they're smelling Krishna in loving exchange with the Lord. So when we see that, the conditioned soul, whose senses are still just material, sees that, wow! They remember, they get chills. Something happens inside. Because they're spiritual. Everybody, you don't have to become spiritual. You are spiritual, you just cover it over. Because all you see is material stuff. When you see something spiritual, a person who's alive spiritually, awake. Wow. You know, I was at the store yesterday. I'm doing a little construction here, which is that's basically all I ever do. It's my therapy. Hare Krishna. So I ordered a light, a special light, and I was waiting for it. It was on special order, and they were very busy in the store, and people were walking, and I was like, oh, where's Krishna? I want to remember Krishna. Well, how can I? So I just started singing softly, you know, not. I wasn't trying to make a show. I was just calling out for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, where's Krishna? You know, feel the presence of the Lord. You know, don't let me be distracted by all of this. Where are you? Oh, you know. And pretty soon I realized I was on Sankirtan. And all these people around me, they were coming to life. As I was coming to life by the mercy of the holy name, and it wasn't like I didn't need like big drums and loudspeakers. It was just me standing there singing, and I knew I was starting to glow. I knew I was something, you know, because, you know, Krishna, Hare Krishna, and I had a big smile, and they were all smiling, and everyone was going, hi! The whole atmosphere changed. Everyone was smiling, Hare Krishna, and I was just waiting for this thing I ordered, and they were very slow in the store. And I was disappointed when she came with the part, because I said, yeah, I was just starting to have a really good time. It's too bad you came. In the middle of the store. I was just on Sankirtan. It was so wonderful. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The more I was absorbed in remembering Krishna and feeling Krishna's presence, and becoming sensually alive in Krishna, the more they were getting it. It was just phenomenal. I mean, people they wanted to talk to me. You know, there's one guy said, oh, I had such a hard day today. It was like I knew everybody. You know, we were all family. I knew everybody. And everybody knew everybody else. And our hearts all went out to each other. For that moment or two, when Krishna was present. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a lot of fun, Krishna. Oh my goodness. Okay, Gita Bandari. That's a new name. Hello, Gita. Aman and I have to go. It's been wonderful. I'm still shocked how you knew what I was going to say about disappearing and appearing on Rath Yatra, Johan preaching. You're right, Krishna knows our... Press this. I'm afraid of this thing that you touch it the wrong way and it... our present, past, and future. Keep warm, Hare Krishna. All right, Hare Krishna. Wherever you go, don't forget to take Krishna with you. You know, it's like when I see like this devotee that I bumped into the other day, and when he was carrying such a heavy weight, he has this agenda and he's written this book that he thinks is going to fix everything about, oh God, it's such a heavy book. It's pointing out all the things that are wrong, you know, it's like, Krishna. So he's carrying this heavy weight around. You know, if he would just carry love of Krishna around, the whole thing would change. Why are you carrying a heavy weight? It's like Jesus said. He said, you know, my yoke is light. It's not a burden. My yoke is light. Why are you carrying these burdens around? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare. Don't they have faith that love of God is actually attainable? I guess not. Because the preaching is, not in this lifetime you can't have love of God. Well, that's what happened to Moses. He couldn't attain the promised land because he did one little thing wrong, because he was under that system of very harsh rules and regulations. That system was, I mean, if you know, in ISKCON, if you break the regular principles, well, all right, you know, just, you know, fast for 3 days and try again, you know. You're not excommunicated. You don't even lose your high position. If you're a leader and you know, you do something poo-poo, you don't even lose your position. You just, you know, do something and then try again to follow. But in Moses' time, if you did something, you got stoned to death. They take you outside the city gate and beat you to death with stones. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You know, Johan, he was reading about Gajendra. And Gohari's also been reading about Gajendra. So I guess Gajendra's big on the list. And it was interesting. I was working outside and I keep the loudspeakers going. So I'm hearing all day long everybody. Lalita, Janaki, Gohari, Govinda, whoever goes on, I keep it going. Ranga, when he goes on. I was really, really, really appreciating being with Karuna and Yamuna while she was eating popcorn and they were listening to Gohari. That was so sweet. I just felt like we were all together, you know. It's like they took me into their home and I was there with them listening to Gohari, and she was on the machine and eating popcorn, and I was like, I really appreciated that. It was really sweet. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. So Johan, he was talking about, about this Gajendra. And, geez, where did I see that? I saw it somewhere. Oh yeah. I'm posting on a lot of different sites now, everybody's videos. And people are looking little bit, you know. Hare Krishna. So on Speaking Tree, we've got something going on Speaking Tree now too, which is all these big Indian gurus and stuff. Anyway, we've got something on there. And in order to post, you have to have like a 500-word minimum. If you're going to put an article up, you have to have 500-word minimum. So I didn't want to do, for me to, so I just cut a little section out of about Gajendra. And it was 500 words and put it up there. But I looked at it, and it was really interesting because Gajendra, the reason he could chant those mantras, Johann explained he compared to the crocodile of time attacking Gajendra. It was a really great way to explain things. But when Gajendra finally took shelter of God, the king of the elephants on the heavenly planets, took shelter of God, he remembered some mantras from a previous life. And it's explained there, in a previous life he was King Indradumna. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, people are like really attracted to going to the heavenly planets. Well, you might go, but you might not be a demigod or even a human-like form. You might end up an elephant or a turtle or something. Or a frog on the heavenly planets. Well, you're in the heavenly planets. But you might end up like Gajendra, an elephant. Okay, you want to go to the heavenly planets? Okay. Now King Indradumna was part of the Jagannath pastime. If this is making the right connection here, sometimes the names refer to different people, but if it's the Indradumna I'm thinking of, he was instrumental in getting the first deities carved of Jagannath because of his strong desire to see a deity form of the Lord. But he ended up as an elephant on the higher planets. Okay. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare. This is the real news. Okay, this is the news. Okay, this is the news. Only 500 years ago, there's been an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's distributing ecstatic love of Godhead freely to anyone and everyone. Now, isn't that good news? That's the news. What do you have to understand? Hare Krishna. Well, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's like Prabhupada said, he was accused of brainwashing, and he said, yes, we are brainwashing. First we give them a brain, then we wash it. Hare Krishna. Oh my God. Okay, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Gaura Hari Das. Jai all the Vaishnava devotees. And Jai everybody else. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Adi Lila chapter 9. Text 49. Here's the good news. The fruit of love of Godhead distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a great intoxicant that anyone who eats it, filling his belly, immediately becomes maddened by it, and automatically he chants, dances, laughs, and enjoys. The fruit of love of Godhead. The fruit the fruit of love of Godhead. This ecstatic prema, Hare Krishna, that's found in the devotee. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Because they're tasting it, they can distribute it. It can't be distributed any other way. Because that's the way Lord Chaitanya distributes it, by tasting it, manifesting it, distributing it, relishing it, tasting it. Krishna. Krishna. Next verse. More good news. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great gardener, sees the people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor, and some are making loud humming sounds, he smiles with great pleasure. So, hearing this verse, followers of Srila Gaur Hari Das don't seem so out of line. They don't seem so, a little more understandable. Consider this. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great gardener, sees that people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor, like Govinda Das and sometimes Karuna Sindhu, and some are making loud humming sounds, he smiles with great pleasure. The devotees make all kinds of sounds. Rangaleka makes a lot of sounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Next verse. The great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit. And as a result, he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Oh God. Oh, Krishna. The Lord has made a tree that produces this fruit. That's what this is about. He can create anything. He's created a tree that produces this fruit. Why not? He makes a tree that produces apples, makes a tree that produces peaches. There's all kinds of trees. They produce all kinds of fruit. The Lord has made a tree that produces this kind of fruit. There was a yogi once who didn't like the way, yogis have powers, didn't like the way people were born. Just getting inseminated and then inside the womb. He thought it was kind of nasty. He didn't like it. So by his mystic powers, he created a planet where people were born like fruits on trees. That's pretty powerful. So people were born like fruits on trees. Now if a mystic yogi can do that, right? Why can't the Lord create a tree that produces fruits of love of God? Why not? And then distribute those fruits. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Guess what? That's what he's done. It's what he did. He's done this. There's a fruit, there's a tree, love of Godhead growing with fruits on it. And you just have to take the fruits. The devotees distribute the fruits on this tree. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Anyone who eats it gets intoxicated, become maddened. They chant, dance, and laugh, and they enjoy. Ecstatic. Ecstasy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna. Krishna. In the purport, Prabhupada explains why he set up the Sunday program so that people can chant and dance and take prasadam, and that Lord Chaitanya will be pleased and show them his favor. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. He compared the temples to hospitals, hospitals. People are sick, they come and they get well. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Next verse. The great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result, he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. Okay, Prabhupada's purport, first sentence. It is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to act himself and teach the people. And that's the purport to this verse. The great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result, he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. Here's Prabhupada's purport. It is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to act himself to teach the people. One must first act himself and then teach. This is the function of a real teacher. Unless one is able to understand or realize the philosophy that he speaks, it will not be effective. Therefore, one should not only understand the philosophy of Chaitanya, but also implement it practically in one's life. That's the real teacher, that's the real spiritual master, and that's what I see in Srila Gaura Haridas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He fits this verse, he fits this book. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, all right. While chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes fainted and remained unconscious for many hours. He prays in his Shikshastika, Yugayatam nameshena chakshusha pravashayatam sanyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. Translation. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. Prabhupada says, this is the perfectional stage of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and eating the fruit of love of Godhead, as exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not artificially imitate this stage, but if one is serious and sincerely follows the regulative principles and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, the time will come when these symptoms will appear. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tears will fill his eyes. He will be unable to chant distinctly the Mahamantra, and his heart will throb in ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one should not imitate this, but a devotee should long for the day to come when such symptoms of trance will automatically appear in his body. Krishna, Hare Krishna, oh Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada is teaching the path of the slow path. If we have the association of someone who is already at that level, then it becomes easy. It's a shortcut. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And if we see someone who has these symptoms and who is engaged like this 24 hours a day, then we have immediate access. Otherwise, it is like Prabhupada says, you long for the day and you chant, and someday, some lifetime, maybe 700 lifetimes, that's there. That's the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is what Prabhupada was teaching at that time and place. But Prabhupada has given a new order. There's a new order. And he's given that blessing and order to Gaura Hari Das to teach the short path. Hare Krishna, to teach like Lord Chaitanya taught. See, Lord Chaitanya didn't teach this way. It's like this. See, the verse is, you try to get this. The verse is, the great gardener Lord Chaitanya personally eats this fruit. As a result, he remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, the mission of Chaitanya to act himself and teach the people. Act yourself and then teach. That's a real teacher. Unless one realizes the philosophy that he speaks, it will not be effective. Okay? So Prabhupada, he didn't give that. He gave something else. Because this is very elevated. He says that's the perfectional stage. And for the people that, I was there at the time, the people he was dealing with, he gave a long path. He gave the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, rules and regulations. And said that at some day, long for this, at some day you will be able to achieve this. But now he's given another order. Okay, that order stands. And there are many people who will benefit from that need discipline, that need different things. They can benefit from that. That's there. But now there's a new order. And he's given that to Gaura Hari Das, is to teach directly, like Lord Chaitanya taught. Taste the ecstasy of love of Godhead, become intoxicated and maddened by it, and distribute it. That's it. And he's given that order to Gaura Hari Das to do that. And he is. And Srila Gaura Hari Das has been doing this since like 1997 and before. And we'd have to say it's a lifetime in preparation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And just within the last year or two now, Krishna is sending people to hear from him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. Next verse, with his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad like himself. We do not find anyone who was not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. This is the Sankirtan movement. This is the Sankirtan movement. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We do not find anyone who was not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. That's intoxicated, okay? The symptoms of intoxication. That's the Sankirtan movement. Intoxicated. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Mad. He made everyone mad like himself. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. What Prabhupada's teaching, as we see in the purport, is, well, just follow these rules and regulations, like, for as long as you have to. It could be lifetimes, and maybe some, and then eventually have faith. Someday, you'll be able to you'll get some tears in your eyes. That's the long path. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Next verse. Persons who had formerly criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him a drunkard, also ate the fruit and began to dance, saying, very good, very good. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah, I was listening to there's two things going on. Like it's always like these two levels. I noticed that, you know, when I joined the movement, there were two things. There was the Sankirtan, go out in the street and be totally spontaneous in Krishna consciousness, and then come back to the temple, and there was all kinds of rules, and you go very regulated, and so I noticed there was always like two things going on. And yes, it is. It runs on. It's a train that's running on two tracks. Hare Krishna, Krishna. So one way to look at preaching is, and I hear devotees talk about this, is to not be very outspoken, but just gradually kind of bring people in, you know, and be nice to them, and maybe sit there and listen to their nonsense for like 3 hours or something, you know, and then just over time cultivate a relationship, and little bit they'll make advancement like that, you know. And I hear the pastime of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya quoted, where Lord Chaitanya sat there for like, how many days? Was it 7 days? 10 days? If it was 7 days, that's interesting, because they have this Bhagavatam Saptaha that they do, where these unqualified materialistic type people recite the 10th canto for like 7 days. But I think it was like maybe 7 days he sat there and he listened to Sarvabhauma with all this speculation on the sutras, Vedanta Sutra. And then he didn't say anything, so Sarvabhauma asked him, have you understood anything that I've said? And then the Lord began to speak and say, well, I know, you know, the conclusion of the sutras, the Vedanta Sutra. He is the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutra. I am what is to be known from Vedanta Sutra. He says, but I know the conclusion of Vedanta Sutra, but what you're speaking doesn't make any sense at all. And he enlightened. So sometimes I hear devotees quote that as a reason why they're willing to sit and listen to so much nonsense for a long time, is because Lord Chaitanya did it. But there's two parts to that pastime. The first part is they sat and they listened to some nonsense for a while. But the second part is they smashed the nonsense and delivered the person who was speaking it. And they seem to leave that second part out and just think, well, yeah, this is preaching. I listen to everybody's nonsense and it's preaching. I'm preaching because they're benefiting, because I'm just sitting there. I can say that because I've suffered from that quite a bit, is that, well, if I just sit here and you know, I'm attentive, and, you know, maybe I'll be able to say something if they ever stop talking, you know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But that's okay, Sarvabhauma and Chaitanya. But when Sarvabhauma stopped talking, then Lord Chaitanya started talking. And he smashed all his misconceptions. He defeated all his speculations. And he was able to give him this ecstatic taste of the love of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So I'm hearing some devotees say like that. It's a gradual process, and you know, it can take years, you know, of listening to all that crap. it doesn't seem like that's what Srila Gaudhara is teaching. It doesn't seem like that's what he's presenting. He's more like the Chaitanya type, where, you know, I mean, he'll hear what they have to say a little bit, but then he's not going to accept it. He's not going to accept, well, gradually. No. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so we're going on. Oh, it's the end of the chapter. Okay, last verse. Well, second to the last. After describing the Lord's distribution of the fruit of love of Godhead, I now wish to describe the different branches of the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the branches are where the fruits are growing, right? So you want to find these fruits of love of Godhead, they're on these branches. They're also on the trunk. They're also on the roots, because he said they're everywhere. But he's going to describe the branches coming up. And then he prays, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa, Sri Raghunath, always desiring the mercy. I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh God. Hare Krishna, Hare Bo. Manini. Hey Manini. Hare Manini. It is so sweet to see how many people have hopeful in Krishna. Yes. There's the Lord's mercy is let loose on the planet, that's for sure. It's been let loose. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Bo. Oh God, what a wonderful association we have, you know. It's really wonderful association. Hare Krishna. We may be separated by miles, but we're not separated by sound. What is it? If we're chanting together, we're together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Jai Srila Gaur Haridas. Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai devotees. Hare Bo.